Hello and welcome to an acysecurities market update. My name is Alistair Schultz and I'm going to be your host through today's trading journey. In the news that we've seen overnight and across the globe about COVID-19 is that the infection rate is nearing 1 million people. We've also seen that the amount of deaths has risen close to 50,000, and this is something that is likely to continue as we're all sort of expecting. But to put further information towards it, the US has come out and claimed that China has withheld information about the outbreak in total. They're saying that the numbers are not adding up. They're saying that the total amount of infections are unlikely and it should be a higher number. But in addition to that, they say that the infection has actually been going on longer in China than what is being led on. Now, additionally to that, the Pentagon has ordered 100,000 body bags, which stipulates on how bad this issue really is, especially for America right now. They are expecting much more deaths in the realm compared to what they have right now. Putting further to that information, we've also seen out of New York that the numbers that they're getting over there are indicating that of those that are hospitalized, 20% are under the age of 50, with many of them also requiring breathing apparatuses to help them get over the illness. Now, that is also saying that there is a great deal of people who are just not getting over the illness and are unfortunately passing away. So we're going to have to keep a very close eye on that and how these lockdown measures are going to proceed moving forward. Now, looking at other stuff that's come out of the US, we've seen some data from the ADP last night about NFP. Now, this is the forefront or the preliminary estimations, and the figures were surprisingly good, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are right. Now, what we are seeing here is that we have had the actual forecast being negative 27,000 claims, with their expectations being 154,000. Now, whilst that's happened, why is it inaccurate? Well, the fact of the matter is that the data collected by ADP only covers up to the 12th of March, not encapsulating the third week of March or the fourth, which show when we have a 3.28 million rise in the amount of claims for unemployment. So we're going to see a very big difference between what these statistics are versus what we're actually going to be seeing on Friday for NFP, which will encapsulate the entire month of March. Now, this is going to be probably quite dramatic because it will cover the fourth week, which we haven't even seen yet. So keeping an eye on that moving forward, it is definitely something you're going to want to have a look at. And if you do trade NFP regularly, I would advise you to be quite careful about what goes on. Now, moving on from this, we've also had some information coming out about oil. And not so much specifically the price per barrel, but what it actually costs to transport a barrel. Now, the numbers that we've got here are that the cost to shipping a barrel has climbed to $10, which is nearly doubling what it is, and it is almost as much, or it's half the amount of what an actual barrel of oil costs. And so to get a claim or to get oil from the US to China right now, we've seen a $13.5 million price increase per boat. And now there is a bit of a reason behind this, because we are seeing so much oil being flooded into the market from Saudi Arabia and Russia, where they're trying to bring the price of oil down to a limit where they can't see the US manufacturing it anymore. We're seeing that where they're putting the oil is being put into shipping containers. This is a known method that's been used by the US for a number of years. Instead of using all of their shipping containers, when they run out of space on land, they start putting the barrels of oil on these containers and leave them at sea, where they can control and keep an eye on what's really happening with them. Now, because we've had an increase of supply, we're seeing that there is an increased demand for storing the oil, which means that we're getting more shipping containers being put out of action just to sit and float in the water so that you might be able to store a little bit more oil. Naturally, that means that the demand for and the supply for being able to actually ship the oil changes. So I will be expecting to keep a very close eye on this, and it has not so far affected the price of oil, but it may very well do so in the coming days. So let's have a look and see what happens with OPEC in the coming days, and hopefully there will be some new information that comes out around that, though I am not going to be holding my breath because Saudi Arabia and Russia seem to be holding quite firm on what they want to do. Now, a little bit of a look here at the S&P 500 as well for you today. I do have a trade on this position. I have marked out a double top pattern on there in the red circle for you to have a look at. But the big interest is that we have actually had a 4.4% decline overnight. Now, why are we seeing this happen now? Well, it's really been because there's been a lot of news coming out this week between unemployment claims. We've also had issues with the US and China, plus the infection rate climbing, plus Trump saying that he is going to be extending lockdown measures to surpass 30th of April. So naturally, we're going to see loss of revenue across the board, and the S&P 500 is a perfect representation of that. So moving forward with it, I believe you are capable of taking some good positions. If you are going to be conservative about it, be careful, and obviously place your stops quite close, because I do not believe the volatility is over, and we're seeing it across the globe overnight that stock markets are a little bit shaken up by some of the news that's gone on in the past 48 hours. So let's have a look on Friday as to how NFP is going to be. Now tonight, for the news ahead that we have that is scheduled, we have unemployment claims coming out of the US. Now it's going to be stark in comparison because it's likely going to show similar sort of figures to what we saw in the last couple of weeks, but considering the ADP announcement, it will be likely a little bit different. And NFP tomorrow is really going to be a big one this week, because it's not always, but this week I think it will, especially with all the global economy stuff going on right now, and more specifically, what is happening in the US. Now, if you have any questions or you want to get in contact with me, feel free to send me an email at talk2al@acy.com. And of course, like and subscribe the video so you can get more great content from me in the future. Have a great trading day ahead.